everybody, my name is REDRUP. This is the It's Not a Phase podcast, and on this episode I'm joined by Edward Gibbs, who is the vocalist for Devil Sold His Soul and Copse. We talk about how his new project Copse came to be, how writing material for Copse and Devil Sold His Soul differs from one another, the upcoming 10th anniversary shows for the Empire of Light album, Devil Sold His Soul's upcoming 20th anniversary, future plans for both bands, and loads more. Now, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast and you want to show your support, there's a few ways that you can do that. Number one, leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. It takes just a few seconds and it really does help. Number two, share this on your social media, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Or number three, if you want to go the extra mile, you can pay a little bit each month to join the Patreon, and in return you'll get access to episodes early along with some other perks, or you can pick up some merch from the store. All the links to that and the podcast socials where you can follow us can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. And now with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this week's episode of It's Not a Phase. What's up everybody? Thank you for joining me on this episode of It's Not a Phase, where I'm joined by Ed Gibbs, who is the vocalist of Devil Sold His Soul and Copse. How's it going, man?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
Yeah, all good, man. All good, yeah. Thanks again for taking some time out to speak to me. So, of course, most people who know you, for your, being a musician and a vocalist will be for Devil Sold His Soul. But, as I said, you're also in a band called Copse, which you started not too long ago, really. When and how did that project come to fruition? Like, how did that all start?
So one of my best mates, Phil, he started writing music with a colleague from work through the pandemic, basically. It was just like, we've got nothing better to do, let's write some music. And I was just chatting to Phil about it and stuff, and we were out walking the dogs, and he was just like talking about it. I was like, hey, if you want any, that sounds really fun, if you want any vocals on it, I'm happy to give it a go. And just went from there, really. Yeah. And
with the name like Copse, like where did that come from?
You know what, I haven't a clue. Phil already had the name before I even was on board.
Oh, okay. So did you kind of come into the picture once like a bunch of music was already made then?
Yeah, so they had started writing stuff. They already had the basis of like 2 songs. They weren't like finished as such, but they were kind of well on the way of them just demoing stuff on their computers and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it was already going before I joined in that sense. Not in terms of like actively doing anything. They'd never gone into a room to practice. It was all just like computers and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, obviously with the pandemic and stuff, that's kind of what everyone had to do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so when you kind of started practicing with them, when did it kind of become something where, you want to start like recording stuff and kind of taking it a bit more seriously? And like, I know you've done like a few shows of it as well. Like you did Arctangent not too long ago, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the plan was always to record it properly with Johnny. Like even before I was on board, they wanted to like record it properly just as like a project thing. Mm. But yeah, I mean, it's we've already done way more than any of us like planned with it. Because I don't think initially we didn't really plan to be really doing anything. It was just a case of getting in a room, practicing the songs, learning them, writing stuff and recording stuff. It was kind of just a studio project, I guess. And it's kind of just grown legs a little bit. I mean, only a little bit. We've only played 5 shows, I think, 6 shows. But it's just something nice to do. It's fun to do something alongside other stuff.
Yeah, I guess even though it's different to Devil Sold His Soul, it's also kind of got some similarities. It's like if someone listens to Devil Sold His Soul, they can find kind of like a gateway there, I guess. But
yeah, I guess it's fundamentally it's kind of just like melodic metal at its basis, I guess.
Yeah. But going down like a more post black metal route, like kind of Oathbreaker kind of stuff. I think it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, it's definitely like much more extreme in that sense, for sure.
Yeah. So what do you kind of feel like you get out of Copse that maybe you don't get out of Devil Sold His Soul? Because I know even just for something as simple as like, I think the Devil guys and yourself are kind of all dotted about different parts of the country at the moment. So I guess that makes, writing and, kind of more spontaneous writing sessions a bit more difficult to do. You kind of got to plan it ahead. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, so with Copse, it's quite nice because we all live reasonably close. We're all in the southwest. We got Ryan over in Newport. And the rest of us are kind of, I don't know, not too far away from each other. Phil's in Bristol. The guys aren't too far away. So we can actually do like a weekday practice, like an evening practice. Just after work, you can just roll on down to a practice room and play some music, which is not something we were able to do with Devil, because I felt like we try and do a middle ground, and the best we get is kind of Reading, which is like almost 2 hours from where I live. So it's like there's no such thing as like a quick practice with Devil. But yeah, it's really nice just to be able to do things a bit more casually in that sense. Just do it when we want to do stuff, and like just there being no expectations. Nice. Like writing a Devil record feels quite heavy sometimes in terms of our own expectations as much as anything else, I guess. Like we've been going a while, and you kind of know where you want stuff to be, but to get there can be quite not difficult, but it's like you just have a very high bar, whereas with this it's not that I have a low bar, but it's just there's no expectation, so you can just be a bit more, yeah, that's cool sort of thing. I don't know, like in terms of writing the vocals, obviously try pretty hard, but it's not, I'm not laboring it in the same way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Like you say, Devil's, made a reputation of itself because it's been going for so long, whereas this is a brand new band, so you don't have expectations of, we've got to do a record every few years and we've got to tour it, and there's also the fact that it's kind of a clean slate in terms of how you can go about writing and putting out songs. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like our starting point is, we've not exactly been particularly quick off the mark because it took us another year to put out 2 tracks, but the idea is to kind of hopefully put stuff out a bit more frequently. I imagine the next thing we do is going to be longer than the last 2, but hopefully we can kind of be a bit more sort of, we don't have to adhere to like a full 10-track album sort of thing. We literally couldn't. If we were a 10-track album, it would be like 2 hours or something stupid. But like guitarist is a psychopath in that sense.
Yeah. Well, it's good that the one kind of pro of writing songs that are a bit longer is that when you do a set, you don't have to have like this massive catalogue of songs, right? You can just, with the stuff you've got now, you can make a pretty reasonable size set.
Well, it's actually kind of annoying because to do a 30-minute set, we either need to abridge a bunch of stuff in the songs that we've got,
right,
or we play like 23 minutes.
Yeah.
Because one of the songs, so it's quite annoying. Like the set we're doing at the moment is 3 songs with a really quick intro on it, just to lead it in. But then the longer song, we've actually had to chop like a few bars out just to get it down to 30 minutes so that we don't end up overrunning sets.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's quite, when we got a few more songs, it might be a bit easier. But the sort of the Tetris of it doesn't really work at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess because of the way that these 2 EPs that you've put out so far, the whole point is that they kind of the 2 main songs on this latest one and the 2 songs of the first one kind of marry together, don't they? Like they bleed into one. So I guess
so when we play all of the songs, we play the new EP, but it's sandwiched with the old EP. So we start with the first track of the first EP, play the other 2 songs, and then finish with the last one of the first EP. So it's kind of like a little EP sandwich, I guess.
Yeah. So what's the kind of process then of writing Copse songs now? Like as a vocalist, do you come in like much later, or do you have like kind of a hand in the kind of the instrumentation part of it as well?
So there's I did actually write some of the stuff on Old Belief, but ideally I'd quite like to just, I don't know, actually it's hard to say. It's quite nice to just let them get on with it and then sort of throw a few ideas in here and there. And I think I'm more focused on like arrangement and stuff than like maybe specifics of writing, because I think it's quite, especially with the way these songs sort of work, if you're going to put vocals in them, sometimes it's a bit like, well, actually we need this to do this just to justify the vocals coming in, or we can't do that many reps because if you're going to put vocals in that section, it might end up being a bit like repetitive. So sometimes it's about like, just chopping stuff down, or putting like, just saying to like Ryan, our drummer, like, oh, we need to put a fill there just to justify the vocals coming in, otherwise it's just going to seem a bit sort of random. But yeah, I don't know, it's I've definitely focused more on just vocals in this, but then in Devil it's kind of like that as well, I guess.
Right.
Like I've written some stuff over the years, but I don't get too involved in those specifics. I might like get involved in like, like lead lines and stuff if I can hear like a melody, but in terms of like the basis of the song, that's definitely everyone else's job, not mine.
Yeah. And do you come from, when it comes to writing those lyrics, when it comes to writing like Copse songs, do you kind of come from a different place than where you would on a Devil song?
Nah, I mean, I'm not great with lyrics. I just it's all from the same angle. Yeah. all just me hating myself. That's what it is.
That's the metal mantra, isn't it? Just self-deprecation and hating the world and yourself at the same time,
Exactly.
So of course, like you said before, you went with Johnny to kind of produce pop songs, which makes sense, because he's your bandmate in Devil. And I guess that makes things fairly easy for you in terms of, he knows your voice and, your list, and then like engineering that into the songs on a production kind of side of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we obviously have to use weird terminology, but we've got a good working relationship in that sense. Like I've been recording vocals with him for like 20 years now. So it's quite sort of tried and tested. And generally speaking, we get there pretty quickly. I mean, on the first EP, it was like, I think I did Mara in about like 30 minutes and then Mondrum like about an hour or something. But this time round, I wasn't very well. So it was kept going in and then it didn't sound right because I was just, I don't know, had some sort of bug or whatever. And my throat was not feeling good. And ended up coming back another time to do them. And I went away not being that happy with it, with the job that I'd done on it. But then listening back now, I can't really tell. So I think it's probably fine.
Is there any kind of like, I know you say you come from the same place lyrically, but on these songs, because on this new EP as well, like in terms of like the titles of the song, there's kind of like a link between them. So is there any kind of link between the lyrics as well?
No, not really on that song specifically, because the first song's quite, would you say it's the first, like Old Belief's really just about like old, like people with antiquated, like, old views on stuff basically, and not willing to like bend them or learn or kind of just modernize their views, I guess. Just, old Daily Mail, Telegraph readers who are not willing to sort of open their mind at all. So that's sort of people who sort of person that would turn around and say, "Oh, it's what it was like when I was young. It's how it used to be." So, it's not a good excuse for a shitty opinion on something. So.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of stuff like that since Brexit came about, haven't we? So,
well, yeah, exactly. It's kind of probably off the back again. Stuff with hearing that a bit too much, but and the other song's just usual internal monologue.
Yeah. What's it been like working with Church Road? Because you signed to them for the second EP. How's it been like working with them?
Oh, it's fucking sick. Those two, Justine and Sammy, are like the nicest people in the world. So I don't know, they're just really supportive. They really, really just love music, as far as I can see, and it's just really quite sort of refreshing. Like whenever we've met up with them or been on like a call with them, they're just like super positive, super cool, super chilled. It's just really easy, nice relationship there, and hopefully they'll be interested to sort of continue working with us, I guess, because we'd really love to.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you specifically with Devil and stuff have been on a few labels there, and a few. Well, this label now with Copse, so kind of different kind of working relationships with how things have kind of been different. So going into this band and this relationship with Church Road, I guess you kind of got a better viewpoint of this is going well. This is kind of a good direction we're going with these guys in terms of what a label provides to a band.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're starting very small with things, so it's not like I like to think there's no sort of great risk going on at the moment with it. So it's like, especially sort of financially, I don't think anyone's sort of losing any money. So it's not, there's no bad blood about anything like that. Which is usually where things like go wrong with labels, is just like expenditure versus what's coming in. And definitely in the past with labels we've had where it's like what they're billing you is just sort of like, why have you come to this figure when you did all this stuff internally, sort of thing, yet you've put on like this insane figure for what that's worth. It's just like, okay, so I guess we owe you that, but I don't know why.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's just labels, isn't it? Like, so the bigger labels are a bit more sort of like banks, I guess, banks / like marketing houses, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the relationship we have with Nuclear Blast and Devil, I absolutely love that label. They're so cool. Just such a refreshing group of people to work with, and again, really, really give a fuck about like music and metal. Like, we've definitely been with some labels in the past where they just I don't know, not great, but anyway.
Yeah. Not to mention anyone throwing under the bus, but you're older now, so you've got this experience under your belt, and at the same time, because you are older, you can't put everything into a band as you could before. Like you can't sleep on floors every night when you're when you're going.
I mean, that's a conversation we had recently where because we're booking a few shows for next year, and it's just none of us want to sleep on floors anymore. So I think we're just going to end up paying for like stuff out of our own pocket, because just like if something's a hobby, I'm happy to spend like a bit like my own personal money just to not have a miserable time. I mean, we're all like very closely like approaching 40, so I don't know. It's just there's a point where it stops being fun doing that stuff.
Yeah, but that kind of returns to what you said before. Like, there's no pressure on this project. You can kind of take it as slow as you are all comfortable with, and
exactly,
not just physically but financially as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing. Like this, it's all like self-financed in that sense, like recording and just recording, recording and practicing. But yeah, I mean, if we put that sort of expenditure onto ourselves, as long as we can afford to and want to keep doing that, it keeps us safe, really, in that sense.
Yeah. So what's the current foreseeable plan with Copse at the moment? Because, you mentioned whatever the next release is probably going to be a little bit longer than what's come before it. What else beyond that do you think is in the works, or at least being kind of discussed?
Well, yeah, I don't know specifically. I mean, there's a bunch of songs which are sort of floating around already, and they're really fucking awesome. Like, we need to probably just sort of work our way through them and sort of maybe pull them together a little bit, like tighten them up a little bit. But I mean, it sounds like it's going to be awesome. But yeah, I really don't know where we're going to go with it in terms of like length, whether we're going to go for a longer EP or whether we're going to go for an album. I think ideally we'll probably try and hit somewhere between the 30 and 40 minute mark, which, for a punk band, that's an album.
Yeah, pretty much.
But for some reason, any sort of post band, it's like, nah, that's not an album.
Yeah.
But whatever. We'll try. I think we're going to try and hit that 30-minute mark at least for the next one.
Yeah.
But I think realistically, we just want to try and strike kind of more often than just writing records is, or like creatively and artistically writing an album is awesome. Like, it's such a pleasing way to put music together, and like it just feels like you really accomplished something. But also, on the same breath, in this sort of modern day and age, it feels a little bit like a wasted effort, because only X amount of those songs really get properly listened to by sort of the masses who are listening to music, because people just don't. Everyone sort of, I mean, it sounds like some old man thing to say, but everyone's kind of in playlist mode at the moment. It's not really about records, and as much as I'd like to creatively sort of put records out, you kind of need to work out what is the most efficient way of using your time and creativity, I guess, without sort of stuff going to waste. And I think that's the main thing that we need to figure out, is how much effort and materials we put together for releases. Because it's definitely like a time versus sort of effort scenario in that sense. Because you definitely want to put as much into it as you can, but you also want to be putting stuff out sort of semi-regularly. Otherwise, people just sort of forget that you exist in that sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes, because we're all chatting about it, and I think we're all sort of on a similar sort of page. But we'll just have to see how it unravels in that sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Being a post-metal band, you can't really just write these quick singles that will go on to loads of playlists, or that are kind of TikTok engineered, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you don't want to be going down that like thinking too much about that kind of route, because it's just, I don't know, it's you don't want to be writing specifically to do that, because that's just, I don't know, that just doesn't feel particularly like artistic to me. That feels a little I don't know what's the word is for that, but yeah, I don't know, not too into that, I guess. Yeah But because I mean, I'm fine with all that. Like, I'm fine with like TikTok and stuff existing. That's not my point. I just mean, I don't really want to start writing music specifically to try and get down a specific avenue. I mean, we're all a bunch of old guys now. It might just seem a bit thirsty to do that anyway. Yeah.
I mean, you're not writing songs for that specific intent. You're writing it for what serves the song. Like, if this makes the song sound better, then that's what we're going to do. We're not going to do it because this might potentially get picked up on TikTok and used as people doing like a transition or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't think we really run the risk of doing that, being in a sort of post black metal band anyway. So I think we're fine.
I think you'd be one of the first if you were. Yeah. But as well, because the genre as a whole, like the songs are generally longer, also got to consider that in terms of, I guess, accessibility, because it's not for everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we thought Old Belief was like we think of that as like our shorter song, but it's still like 5.5 minutes, I think. So it's you're not really competing in that 3.5 minute world at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, you can get on to certain playlists, but obviously you won't be on board with the mainstream stuff. But again, we're not a mainstream band, so I don't think we need to worry about it.
Yeah. Do you think when you've come into doing this, this new project Copse, that you've looked back at like the early days of Devil? Because I know it's no secret that you don't really like the band name Devil Soulless Soul. So you've gone from like a 4-worded band name to just a one simple.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I definitely. I don't know if I prefer the name is a weird one, but I definitely don't feel embarrassed by this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like
give me 20 years and I'll probably have a different opinion on it. But
yeah, well, back when you guys kind of first formed Devil, you had lots of bands that kind of had like these, like, I wouldn't go as far as like a sentence, but like From Autumn to Ashes and
yeah,
and that was kind of the thing then, wasn't it? So
yeah, more syllables, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, simple's better, I think.
Yeah, and you can't really, at this stage now, you guys have been going for so long, it'd be such a big kind of PR campaign, I guess, if you were to switch your name up. If you did want to do that, then that's fine, but it kind of be...
Yeah, I mean, we have spoken about it, but I think we just come to the conclusion that it's just not worth the hassle.
Yeah.
In that respect, which is a shame, but I guess it's a difficult one. I don't think we need to like kneecap ourselves in that sense, probably.
Yeah, I think it's fine, to be honest with you.
But... it's absolutely fine. It is absolutely, at best, it is fine.
Well, on the subject of Devil, I know you've got your, some shows next month for, Empire of Light. So that'll be interesting, going back to that album just over 10 years later and revisiting those songs that you made together. Yeah,
so excited to play those songs. Like probably half the record that we've never played live. I mean, obviously we played the songs as we were writing them, like in a rehearsal space and stuff. But after recording them, there's a whole bunch of songs which we've never played live. Like we've never played Time and Pressure, never played Sorrow Plagues, never played Waves in the Seas, never played It Rains Down, we've never played The Verge. That's definitely half of them. Probably played the others, I think. But there's 10 songs, so yeah, half the album we've never played. So it's going to be really cool. Really excited to play Time and Pressure, because I feel like when we first did that album, that was the one where I was like, yeah, it's fun. It's an album track. Good. But now I don't know. I really love that song. It really speaks to me now. So it's really fun to see how the songs sort of turn around on you a bit. It's weird. Yeah. Did you find that with any of the other older songs? Like maybe you weren't that keen on it at the time and now you kind of really do love them, or I guess vice versa as well? I mean, that album is probably, like, in terms of a Devil album, is the one that I'm it's since then, like, Lost, like, super proud of that one as well. I'm really happy with that. And Empire of Light is definitely, of those sort of first three or whatever, it was the one which I was most happy with, like, in terms of just the album as a whole, like the work we did on it, just how it all sort of came into fruition. Like, I really love all the songs on that record, so it's quite like a special one for me because that was always my favorite. And I don't know, in terms of old songs, I mean, there's definitely ones which I didn't like as much at the time and still don't like as much now. So like some songs don't change in that sense. But yeah, it's more, I think, with this sort of Time and Pressure and Sorrow Plagues, like I always thought of them as more as album tracks. And I guess maybe it's just one of those things where you give something a bit of time and it really kind of, you sort of see the sort of full scale of it a bit more than like when you first start working on it, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I guess, but I get that listening to other bands. Like there'll be stuff where first listen, it's like, yeah, this is fine. And you give me like a week of listening to it, it's like, this is insane. But you don't get that off the first listen because it takes a bit of work to get into sometimes. So maybe those songs are just like the ones which take a little bit more work. Yeah, like there's some bands that do that. Like a good few years ago, like I couldn't get into most of the Mars Volta stuff, but now like I've listened back to some of their albums, I'm like, this actually is pretty fucking good. Maybe I should give that a go because I can get to them either. I've sat there driving without any of the joy. I should probably give them a go. It can be a taxing listen, to fair. Like it's far more easy to consume. I'll give you that. But yeah. So yeah, we mentioned before, that I noticed that the band formed in 2004, which is the one we make next year, kind of like a 20th
anniversary of Devil Sold His Soul.
Which is scary as fuck. That is terrifying.
That's like, well, that's more than half your lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hit half my lifetime last year, I guess.
Right.
So joined when I was 18, so I turned 36 last year. Yeah, so yeah, over half my life already, that band.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Mental. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't really get my head around that one. But.
Yeah. Do you plan on celebrating that milestone anyway? Either like, I don't know, it's tend you like expect you to say like, oh, we're going to do special shows or a release or whatever. But in terms of anything, like even privately as a band, like, do you think you will celebrate that in some way?
Weirdly, we haven't actually spoken about that, but I assume, I mean, we're hoping to like do stuff next year anyway. So if that's the case, whatever we do will be some sort of 20-year celebration, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, let's get these shows out of the way and we'll start thinking about it, I guess.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
When you look back at the like the past 2 decades almost now, what kind of moments and life lessons do you think you got from that band? Because basically, as we said, it's half your lifetime. So you basically grew up in the band, like as part of the band.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like having a family, I guess. Being in a band is interesting. I mean, I definitely learned a lot of stuff that has kind of helped me as an adult, and also helped me in terms of like just being part of a team at work and stuff. Like, I understand being part of a team. That's something that I actually am quite good at, because it's just something you have to do to be in a band. Being in a creative entity where there's 6 of you and you have to try and appease 6 people and make sure everyone's happy with stuff and whatever. It's just like, if you were to tell an artist, oh yeah, I want you to do a piece of art with one other artist, and it would be an absolute clusterfuck. Do that with 6 people. For some reason in music, that's normal, but that definitely translates into understanding how to be sort of like a team player and stuff at work. So that's definitely helped me there big time.
Yeah. It's kind of like another way of like I guess education, right? Because you go to school and you've got to learn to work with other people that you may not normally work with, or sometimes things just don't gel, or you've got to work together as a cohesive unit. And I guess another thing you learn as being part of a band is financials as well, because it's tighter than ever, I guess.
The lack of, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't
absolutely
learn at school. Like you don't go to school and learn about mortgages, for example, but you have to learn how to budget on the road, which you don't really learn in school.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I think that is a massive. We're now talking about a really huge short-sighting in terms of our education system, but that's a different conversation, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of like look into the future. I mean, we spoke about like the future of Copse before, but Devil, like obviously you've got these shows coming up next month. What else do you kind of foresee in terms of the future of Devil? Like you say, you want to do some stuff next year. Is there plans for like a new album at some point in the next year or two?
Yeah, so we have started writing some new songs, and be interesting to see where that goes. I think that's kind of slightly been put on the back burner for the time being, just until we get these Empire Light shows out of the way, because it became clear, but we wanted to make sure that we are up to our usual standard in terms of live. So to do that, we needed to make sure, like I said, because we haven't played a bunch of these songs before, we really needed to start knuckling down and really focusing on just getting the songs down, I suppose, so we could play them to the standard that we play all the other songs. So yeah, we've kind of put that on hold, and it's been interesting, just because logistically getting everyone in a room together can be quite difficult, not only because of the just people's lives and work and stuff, so we need to work around sort of weekends most of the time. It's been the summer, so every other sort of week someone's on holiday, so getting everyone in a room's been quite difficult. So Paul and I have been doing practices just ourselves, along to instrumentals on a PA, so it's just little vocal practices and stuff, which it's actually been really cool, and a lot easier to organize, because just the 2 of us, and also vice versa. It means that the rest of the guys only need 4 people to do practice. If more of us can make it, if me and Paul can make it or whatever, then fantastic. But it does mean that logistically it's a lot easier just to get everyone in a room. Yeah. And we've got a big sort of 2-day practice coming up in a couple of weeks. And then that's that. We're good to go, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's another kind of life lesson, isn't it? Like you've got to kind of schedule everyone's lives.
Yeah,
being a band of 6 people as well, that makes it even more difficult.
Absolutely.
Life and, not only like work, but families.
Exactly.
Travel,
yeah.
Booking, like say somewhere in the middle where you can actually all meet relatively easily comparatively to one another to actually
exactly
do it.
So that's kind of what I said about Copse. It's nice just to be like, oh, do you want to do a practice Tuesday evening? Yeah, fine. It's like 30, not maybe like 40 minutes from my house or whatever. It's like, I can do that. That's fine. Yeah. But as soon as it's like, oh, it's 2 hours from my house, it's like, that's a 4-hour round trip. If we finish it this time and not be home till 1 a.m. and I've got to be work the next day, it's like that. It just doesn't work. Yeah. So that's why we end up doing weekends. But you do have to be a lot more proactive about the logistics of the calendars and stuff, I guess. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah. I guess you then got to, knowing that you've only got this kind of constrained time frame, you're going to make the most of it. You're not going to fuck around when you get there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, fucking around does occur, so.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
But yeah, I mean, we try and do practices over a weekend where we do 2 days, so that it's like, especially with writing it, you tend to be a lot more productive, because that you're coming back the next day and whatever. And I don't know, taking that pressure off like a short window, not weirdly I guess, but it does allow sort of creativity to be a bit more natural rather than forcing it into like a small period of time where you might or might not come up with something, or something might work. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that works for Devil, but realistically that's only because Will lives miles away.
And I guess having Copse as like this thing you can do a bit more frequently, that doesn't mean you've got to wait around so much to kind of have a creative outlet in terms of music, and also kind of just, vent because of the, being aggressive and high energy music as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing for me, the thing that I always struggle with Devil is because we're not active in the way that we used to be. It's really difficult vocally, because vocally it's not got any less demanding. If anything, it's got, what we're doing is more demanding than ever in Devil vocally. Right. And just trying to keep on top of like vocally being in shape is really difficult. Like I tend to like sing and scream in my car on the way to work just to try and keep in practice. But that's only like however long my commute is. It's not the same as getting in a room and doing it for a couple of hours and really just building your stamina and your strength up. In the same way, like, you go to the gym to build your strength in whatever ways, and you need to keep on top of it. Otherwise you're sort of back to square one. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed about Copse is just sort of keeping myself in shape a bit, really.
Yeah.
Making my life a shitload easier.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, thanks very much for your time, Ed. I really appreciate you.
No worries, mate.
Time out your day. Before I let you go, enjoy the rest of your evening. Any final words, anything you want to say, anything you want to plug? Floor's yours.
If you haven't checked out Copse, check us out like now. We've got a record out on Church Road. Been out for a couple of weeks, and we're really super proud of it. So yeah, that's giving it a listen.
Cool.
Give it a go.
And get down to the Devil shows next month as well.
Yes, get down to the Devil shows. I really should be saying all this shit. Yeah, October something.
13th is Manchester, I think. So
13th and 14th.
There you
go. Cheers, Zach.
I got you, man. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be coming along to the Manchester show, so it'll be cool to actually see you in person. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks very much.
All right.
And
take care. Have a nice evening, mate.
You too, mate. Bye.
Bye.
And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this or any other episode of the podcast, then please leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this. If you want to support the podcast further, you can go and give it a follow on social media, pick up something from the merch store, or subscribe to the Patreon to get early access to episodes. All the links can be found at itsnotaphase.co.uk. That's itsnotaphase.co.uk. Thanks again, hopefully catch you on the next one, and remember, it's not a phase, it's a lifestyle.